Thanks for watching, everybody. This is odds.com. If you missed the show, check out the link below. You can see the whole thing over on odds.com. Middleweight fight, we've got Tafon Nchukwi taking on Jamie Pickett. Now, this is not the Pickett that most of you will recognize and know. That's Brad Pickett. No, this is Jamie Pickett, completely different monster. Tafon is 4-0, one of these really bright, shining stars the UFC is looking to push. And most fighters these days, I mean, you go all the way back to like UFC, The Ultimate Fighter season 2 or 3. You'd get guys coming in here with 3 professional wins, coming in, making their debuts and stuff. It just doesn't happen anymore. Nobody gets a shot in the UFC at 4-0. So the fact that this guy is even getting that chance at 4-0, to me, speaks volumes of what they expect from this guy. He's just raw power. I mean, the only thing that I can describe from this guy is that insane level power. It's like Francis Ngannou at middleweight. He's the only guy to have beaten William Knight, and I'm really high on William Knight. I like the guy. I think he's another tank. He's explosive. He's powerful, and this dude handled him. So Jamie Pickett on the flip side of this thing, he's another Dana White Tuesday Night Contenders guy. He was on there 3 times, and the one thing I really noticed about him is he's so hittable. He overextends on his punches. He relies on his head movement and his chin. The UFC is setting this up, James. The UFC wants Tafon Nchukwi to win this fight.
They absolutely do. Yeah, no, you definitely see it. But again, this is a bit of a dangerous one in the sense that you've got a guy who's only got 4 fights against a guy who has way more experience in 15 fights in Jamie Pickett. Pickett's a guy I've interviewed for a long time. You mentioned the 3 stints on Contender Series. One fight I do want to point out, which wasn't that long ago, was actually last summer, was the Puna Soriano fight. Because, Puna's a guy, leading into that fight, he was getting all first-round finishes. Well, he gave his best shots to Jamie Pickett. Pickett ended up surviving and ended up going to a decision. Basically, Puna took him down. It's kind of funny, actually, looking back at that fight now, because Anthony Romero was a guy that wasn't awarded a contract on Contender Series for not finishing his opponent. That's what Puna did, basically. He out-wrestled him the whole fight. And not throwing any shade at Puna. I'm just more throwing shade at the contract process for Contender Series. But Pickett coming off finally a win, TKO win on Contender Series over Patty. So it's a pair of Contender Series winners going toe-to-toe here. This is another situation where I think it's a dog or pass, and I know people are going to get annoyed with saying that, but I don't feel comfortable picking a guy with 4 fights, just 2 winning records on there. I think that the guy he fought in his debut was 2-1. The next guy he fought was 1-1. Next guy he fought was 6-0, William Knight. Good win, don't get me wrong. The William Knight win was great. But then, there's not enough data for me there to feel comfortable in making a pick. And you're right, it's just pure athleticism, pure power. But here's the thing, Clint, Jamie Pickett's never been knocked out in his career. And if a guy like Puna Soriano can't knock him out, who I think's got maybe not as much knockout power as say a Tafon in this fight, but still something to consider, I think it's possible Pickett could survive. And if it does go a bit later, you're talking about a guy who hasn't even hit the judges' scorecards in his career. That's a bit concerning. I know it's only 3 rounds, but I do wonder as the fight goes on if that plays to Pickett's advantage, just with the amount of experience he has in this fight. So I'm going to take Tafon in this fight just because I got to go with the guy who has more upside. And that definitely, I mean, you know what you're going to get with Jamie Pickett, but I do wonder if this fight goes past the first round, do you maybe look at Jamie Pickett taking over here? So that's why I think the value is certainly on Pickett in this fight, not on Tafon. So this is another one I'd probably stay away from, but I'm going to pick Tafon in the fight.
I totally get that. And I have to go with Nchukwi. Like I said, he took out my guy, William Knight. I love that guy. I've been chatting with him on Instagram, actually. Really cool dude. So that one speaks volumes to me. Not because I have a personal attachment, but because he's such an awesome fighter. That's a big win, in my opinion. And you're right, though. This is going to be a big, big step up in competition. He's fighting an opponent with way more experience. He's had as many losses as Nchukwi has fights. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. And we see that play all the time, is these young fighters don't quite know how to manage the fight when they're not being the hammer. So it'll be interesting to see how Nchukwi does later on in this fight. And putting on my little tinfoil, betting handicap here, I think the over 1.5 may be a sneaky look on this one, because this is going to be hyped as, look at this guy's raw power. Watch the highlight reel of him just destroying everybody. And like I said, we know his opponent Pickett is so hittable. This is going to be the first round KO. Well, I don't know if it will be. You're getting even money on this thing to go 1.5 rounds, and this is going to be his first time under the big lights. We see a lot of people get nervous. You have the adrenaline dump in there. So I think there's a decent shot here that this one goes over 1.5. That might be something we look to target a little bit later when everyone pounds the under.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's very rare to see 1.5 at that price, right? So it just goes to show you where sort of everyone's looking at from this fight. It's either first round finish or, the fight then gets very interesting if it goes a little bit later. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure.
Absolutely. And kind of like you said, Danny Lopez saying that if Tafon doesn't get him out there in the first round, maybe a good spot on Pickett. Not a bad idea, because if you've got access to live betting and you see Tafon, huffing and puffing back over in his corner after emptying the gas tank, absolutely, he'll probably end up being an even bigger favorite at that point. You can get some nice dog money and hope the other guy steps up and takes the fight over in the second and third rounds.
I'll tell you some value right now. I just saw the prop here. Pickett wins by decision plus 685. There's tremendous value on that, in my opinion.
You're not wrong. Yeah, that's very
crazy.
wide line.
I mean, I get it, right? This guy's supposed to knock him out, but if he doesn't, and what happens? Is Pickett going to finish him? Maybe, but I mean, when was Pickett's
I wouldn't bank on it though.
Yeah, I mean, Pickett finished his last fight, but you look at a lot of his fights, they do at least the last couple. Before that, they went the distance. So maybe something worth taking a look at.
Maybe so. Yeah. So far, another pass for me, unfortunately, but don't you guys worry. We've got plenty in store on this card. I've got several bets locked in already. So we will get there, but this undercard is sketchy, folks. Like these are a lot of very unknown and very questionable fighters making their debut, stuff like that. So just a whole bunch of stuff that we're not really sure about. So going to be lots of passes here, kicking the night off early. I do want to welcome everybody in. We've got 260 live viewers. Thank you all so much for joining the chat this evening. We appreciate you hanging out with us. This is odds.com. Make sure you hit that like button down there. Anybody that didn't see this thing live, we're going to be doing the replay over on odds.com exclusively, so check that out there. I'm joined by my man Lynch on sports over here, the best interviewer in the game, doing some work for odds.com and a bunch of other outlets. So we appreciate him joining us, and we're talking betting. So if you're in here just for picks and, hey, we think we're talking money, we're talking cash. So if we end up passing on a fight, don't lynch us, if you will.
Nice.
Sorry, bad joke.
Okay. No, that's good. I'm a dad. I'm all about the dad jokes. That's all.
That's where it's at. I'm stretching up my dad game here. My daughter's old enough now; she's starting to laugh at stuff. So gotta get them in there.